Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I will teach you how you can work with a data set with almost 1 million records of real data from internet, from Amazon, and make an application that will analyze the data and give us useful information. This is going to be a practical programming course, unlike any that you have seen before. And in this video, you are going to learn how you can work with data sets, analyze the data, perform calculations, make charts, and many more things. So at the end, we will have an application that is going to analyze the market. And maybe based on that information, you can decide to buy certain products, buy stocks, or sell them, do whatever you want. I am not a financial advisor, so I will not tell you what to do, but I will teach you how you can build an application that will give us a lot of useful information. So my suggestion is that you watch this video first in order to get a general idea of what we are going to build. And then when you watch it second time, you can code along with me. And all the code that we type in this video is going to be on my GitHub. The link will be in the description of this video. So without any further ado, let me show you the application that we are going to build. So here is the application that we are going to build. And now I'm going to show you some of its functionalities. First of all, here we have the list of all of the products that we have inside our data set. And here you can select any product and see how its prices have changed. And you can also calculate price change in percentages. So you can see that since December of 2021 till October of 2022, for this Sony FE24 105mm, the price increased for 55.7%. So you can do this and calculate it for one product, or you can select multiple products and then perform the calculation. Or you can even select, let's say, all of the products and perform this calculation. And as you can see, it is taking a little bit more time because now it is calculating for 100,000 products. And here you can see the result. So the price has dropped for 1.5%. So that is calculate change functionality. And here I have two very interesting functionalities. This one shows top 10 brands that have increased prices the most in this period. And this one shows brands that have decreased price the most. And if I click this, here you can see only 10 brands because we have a limited space to show the data. But I will teach you how you can calculate this for all of the brands that we have in this data set. And we have tens of thousands of different brands. So in this video, you can learn how to build this application that will help you to take informed decisions. Like many businesses do, they make applications that are going to analyze the market, and then based on those analysis, they decide to buy certain products or sell them, or to buy stocks, sell them, and so on. In this video, I am not going to give you financial advice on what you should do, but I will definitely teach you how you can make an application that will give you all of the information that you need, and then you can do whatever you want with that information. So here are top 10 brands that have increased prices the most. And then here we have top 10 brands that have decreased prices the most. And as you can see here, we have a brand called Rainbow Dust, for example. It decreased price for 100%. So I'm guessing that it maybe went bankrupt. Let's see. So Rainbow Dust. Here is one product from that brand. And as you can see, it went from $7.95 to $0 between May and July of 2022. So this is the application that we will build together in this video. So let's jump straight into code and start making this application. So as I said, we are going to use a data set with real data from Amazon, and I got this data set from Bright Data. You can use the link in the description of this video in order to download a data set that you can use for test purposes. And then if you need any specific data set or more specific data, you can go on their site and check out some of the existing data sets, or contact them and they can prepare you a data set with the data that you need. There are a few very important things that you need to consider when you start building an application. And the first one is that it is very hard to find quality data. Quality means data that is up to date and that reflects the latest information, and also data that is structured and organized so that it is easy to work with. For this video, I used data set from Bright Data, and I decided to show you how you can work with data sets that have a lot of data and how you can make practical and useful applications. And then another important thing that you need to consider is where you can get datasets. For example, you can get datasets from Reddit, but they are usually very limited and they are sometimes low quality. And also, if you decide for government datasets, of course, they are not always available and accessible. So my suggestion is to check out Bright Data whenever you need a dataset. You can use the link in the description to download some free datasets, and then you can check out all of the existing datasets that they have. And if you need some specific data, definitely contact them and ask them to prepare that data for you. So let me now show you the dataset that we will use for this application. So here is the dataset that we will work with, and it has almost 800,000 records, but it is in CSV format, as you can see. Let me show you. And that is not really that readable to humans. So I will format this into JSON very quickly, and then I will show you what we are working with. So this is our data set, and here is one product, and inside it we have all of the information that we have about that product. So we have URL on the Amazon site, we have ASIN, title, brand, and then we have categories that the product belongs to. And here we have prices throughout time from December 2021 to October 2022. And then we have another product, and then another, and another, and so on. So I will use this data set. We will use it in CSV format in order to make this application. So let's create our application. Click on File, New Project. Okay, and here we will search for Windows Forms application. It is going to be C# application. Click on Next, and let's call it, for example, Market Analyzer app, and click on Next, and make sure to select .NET 6.0 framework and click Create. Okay, so the first thing that we will need to do is we will need to create a class where we will represent all of the properties of this product. Actually, just the ones that we need. And we will need title, brand, and these prices. So let's create that class. I will create a new folder. Click on Add, New Folder, and name that folder Data. And inside this folder, I will create a new class. Let's call it Product. Like this. Okay, so this is going to be public class, and inside it I will say public string title. Okay, and then let's do the same for brand. And I will also create properties for prices. Let me do that and I will be back. Okay, so here are the properties for our prices, and that is our class. The next step is we need to make a way to map this class here with this file here. Where is our data? Actually, it is in CSV format, and this that I'm showing you is JSON format because it's more readable to humans. So in order to map CSV file with our class, we need to install a NuGet package. So I'm going to right click on my project and click on Manage NuGet Packages. And here I need to find a NuGet called CSV Helper. So CSV Helper, and click on Browse instead of Install because we don't have this NuGet. And here it is. I'm going to click on it and click on Install. Okay, and then click on OK. I accept. And as you can see, this NuGet has been installed. So now I am going to close this. Also, I will save this and close it. This is something related to our framework. And then I will go to this data folder again, right click on it. And here I will add another class and I will call it product map. Okay. Click on add. This is also going to be public class, and it is going to inherit from a class called class map. And I will say that it is class map of product. So here we are going to write a way to map the properties of our product from CSV file from our dataset into these properties here of our product class. So let me show you how we are going to do that. So let's create a constructor for this class. And this class called class map has a method called map. And we are going to use that method in order to map properties, these properties of our products class with these here. So title from the class will be mapped with this, brand from the class will be mapped with this, and so on. So let's do that. Go back to our products map. And here I will use method called map. So I will say product p.title will be mapped with title. This is how you do it. And then do the same for brand, like this, map it with brand. And let's do the same for prices as well. And I will be back. So this is how you map the prices. Make sure that these names here correspond with these names here. Okay. So now we are finished with mapping the data, and now what we can do is we can drag and drop our data set into our application. So I have it here. I will just drag and drop it into my data folder like this. Okay, and here I have to do two things. So right click on your data set and click on properties. Okay. And here you need to make sure that your data set is set as embedded resource for your application. And also here, copy to output directory, make sure to select copy always, so that whenever we start our application, this data set is copied into our output directory so that it can be used for our application. So those are two things that you need to do. So now that we have created our products class, we have created products map, so the way to map our class with our CSV file, and we have also drag and dropped our CSV file into our application. What we need to do is we need to load the data from this CSV file into our application. And for that, I will create a new class, right click on data, click add class, and I will call it CSV data loader and make this class public. And inside this class, I will very quickly create a method that will load the data, and then I will be back to explain it. So here is how CSV data loader class is going to look like. It has two fields, dataset path, which combines the path of our application and also the path of our Amazon dataset inside the application. So it is inside data folder and it's called Amazon compare.csv, which is this file here. And then this variable here, I will explain what it does in a minute. So here we have a method called load data, and that method returns a list of products. Please note that I have made both this method and the class static, and this is also static. And the reason is because I want to be able to invoke this method without having to create the instance of this class. So this method is going to load the data and return me the list of products. So what I'm doing inside this method is following. First, I am creating a new reader, new stream reader, and I'm giving it the path to my data set. Now, this stream reader just knows how to read text. So because we are going to work with CSV files, we need to create another type of reader, which is more specific, and that is CSV reader. And we are going to tell it, hey, please use this reader that knows how to use text. And then you have some additional options that we will need. And those are these options here. So this CSV reader is going to register with this product map class, which is the one that we have wrote previously. It is this one that knows how to map from CSV file to our class. Okay. So it is going to use that class. And here we are creating a list of products and we are saying, hey, CSV reader, get records. They are going to be of this type. They are going to be products and convert them to list. And this part here says, please take this many records. Now, this is because we are working with huge data set that has almost 800,000 records. In case that you want to limit how much data you take, you can set that value here. So for example, by changing this to 100, you would take only 100 records. And if you put 100,000, you're going to take 100,000 records. So please adjust this to the speed of your computer because loading all of the data can make your application a lot slower. So once we take that data, here we will have the list of our products and we just return those products. So this method should be able to load the data into our application. And now let's see where we are going to invoke this method and load the data. So please note this form 1. This is the default form that you get when you create a new application. So let's very quickly rename it and let's call it products form. And make sure to click yes here so that form 1 is renamed everywhere. Okay, so this is the form where we are going to build our user interface. And here, the first thing that I want to do is I want to drag and drop a grid, and we will use that grid in order to show the data that we have loaded. So where can you find the grid? Click on View and then find Toolbox. And here you have all of the controls that you can simply drag and drop to your form. Here I'm going to type grid and I will drag and drop data grid view to my form like this. So let's name this grid. So right click on it and click on properties. And here you have this small window. I am just going to move it here like this. And here you should be able to find property called name. So instead of calling it data grid view, let's name it products grid like this. So now what I want to do is I want to create form load event. So when our form loads, I also want to load the data. So you can double click on the form or you can right click here, click on properties, and here you can find all of the events of the form and you can double click on this load event, or again, you can double click on the form and you should get this form load event. So what I want to happen when my form loads is I want to show the data in my grid. So I will say products grid, its data source is going to be this CSV data loader, CSV data loader, and inside it, method called load data. So when this method returns products, I want to set them as the data source for my grid. So now let's start the application and let's see what is going to be the result of this. And as you can see, here is our grid and the data has been loaded to our application and now we can see it on our grid. Now, one very important thing to keep in mind is if your computer is a little bit slower, here you can change data limit and decide how much data you want to load. And if you decide to load, for example, just 100 products, then your application start is going to be much faster versus if you decide to load 800,000 records, so the entire data set. Okay, so I am going to go back to my grid here. And one thing that I want to do before continuing is I just want to refactor this a little bit because I want to reuse this data set that is loaded into my application on more than one place. So I will store it into a global variable. I will create a list of products. I will call them products. And here, instead of loading this directly into my data set, I will store this data into my products variable like this. And then I will use this products to set the data source of my grid like this. And the result is going to be absolutely the same, but we will just be able to use this products variable inside this entire class, so on more than one place. One thing that you should notice is that our grid was generated automatically, meaning that these columns were generated automatically based on the data set that we gave to our grid. Now, one thing that I would like to do here is I would like to show only title and brand inside our grid, and then later we will see how we can show these prices on a chart. So in order to customize our grid and show only columns that we want, we will need to make a method that is going to customize the appearance of the grid. So let's do that. Here I will create private void method. I will call it customize grid appearance. And inside this method, we are going to create columns manually and add them to our grid. And we will also tell to our grid that it shouldn't generate columns automatically. So let's do that. Let's say products grid auto generate columns is equal to false. That is the first thing. So please don't generate columns automatically. And then the next thing is to create columns ourselves. So here I will create data grid view text box column like this. And the first one will be title column. Okay. And here we need to set two things. We need to set the header of the column. So title call dot header text will be equal to title. And we also need to tell to our column what is going to be the property that it will connect to from our product. So I will say title call dot data property name will be also title. So please connect with title property from products and name the column title. So now I can add this column to my products grid. So I will say products grid dot columns dot add title column. Okay. And let's do the same for the brand column. I'm going to copy this, paste it, and here I will say brand column, and then brand column dot header text will be brand, and then brand column dot data property name will also be brand. And here I will add brand column to my grid. So now we should invoke this customize grid appearance method before we fill our grid with data. So I will invoke it on form load event. So please first customize grid appearance and then load the data into my grid. So now if I start the application, let's see what's going to happen. Okay, as you can see, here we have a grid that has only 2 columns. Now there are a few things that I would like to change regarding this grid. First thing is I would like to fill this entire grid with data without having this empty space here. And for that you use this line. And then I would also like to remove this empty column here. And for that you use this line. And I would also like to be able, when I select certain product, I would like for entire row to be selected, not a specific cell. So you can do that with this line. And I am going to add those 3 lines here to my customized grid appearance like this. So I added those 3 lines in my customized grid appearance method like this. And now if I restart my application, let's see what has changed. And as you can see now, we can select the entire row and the entire grid is filled with the data and we don't have that empty column. And one thing before we continue building this application is I will very quickly change the font of this application so that it is a little bit bigger so that you can see it as well. So there is this property here called font. Double click on it and here you can change the font and its size. So let's say Century Gothic and size will be 16. Okay, and as you can see, this form is now a little bit too big. So let's just make this grid a little bit smaller and the entire form also a little bit smaller. Okay, so the next functionality that I would like to build here is going to be search option so that we can search our products. And in order to do that, I will drag and drop from my toolbox a text box like this. Okay, and put it here. So we should have the option to type in the text into this text box, and this grid should be filtered based on the text that we have typed. So there are a few ways to do this. One way, which is easier and more beginner friendly, is to simply add a button to this form. So when the user types in a text and then presses that button, then you should filter this grid. But another way, which is more professional and better way, is to use async functions. And in order to write async functions, you need to understand asynchronous programming in depth. Now, if you're not familiar with asynchronous programming, or if anything that you have seen so far in this course is not understandable to you, make sure to sign up for my practical programming course, where I am going to teach you everything that you need to know in order to start building real applications and working for real companies. I will basically give you my 10-year experience in this course that you can finish in 10 weeks. And if you want to get a special discount as my viewer, you can use the link in the description, but make sure to sign up for the discount right now because the number of people that can get it is limited. So let's get back to our application. And as I said here, I am going to show you how you can write asynchronous function that is going to perform searching of this grid based on the text that you input into this text box. So let's very quickly rename this text box, and I will call it search text, like this. Okay, so when the text changes, there is an event called text changed. So how are we going to implement this event? This event is going to be triggered, invoked every time that text changes inside this text box. So either user inputs a letter or he deletes a letter. So what I'm going to do is I will wait while the user is typing, and then when the user makes a pause of, let's say, half a second or 300 milliseconds, that is the moment when I am going to perform the search and show the results inside this grid. So how am I going to do that? Well, when the user starts typing, I will measure the length of text inside this text box. And then I will make a pause of 300 milliseconds, and then I will measure the length of this text box again. And if during that time, during those 300 milliseconds, the length of text has not changed, that means that the user has stopped typing and now it's time to perform the search of this grid. So let's do that. Here I will create a variable of type int, and let's call it length before pause, like this. So here I will say search text.text.length, like this. So this is going to be one thing. After that, I will make a pause of 300 milliseconds. So I will say task delay, and then let's say 300 milliseconds. But one thing that you keep in mind is if you do it like this, then it is going to freeze your application. So what we need to do is we need to say await. So please asynchronously wait. Don't freeze my application. And as soon as you add await, that means that the function needs to be async, like this. So now, after you have waited for 300 milliseconds, what we should do again is we should measure the length of this text box again. And here I will call it length after pause. Okay, so now if length before pause is the same as length after pause, what we should do is we should refresh our grid. Let's say refresh grid, like this. And now I will very quickly implement this method, and I will be back to explain you what it is doing. So here is our refresh grid method. Basically, we are performing the search of products, and then we set that search result as the data source for our grid. So let's explain this part here. Here, we are taking all of the products that have been loaded into our application, and we are saying, please give me only the products where product brand contains this search text here. And also, when you are comparing those two, please convert those to lowercase so that the user doesn't need to think if he has typed lowercase or uppercase letter, because if you don't do this part here, then these two are not going to be the same. So that is how you can search products. And here you define if you want to search by brand name or by title of the product. And you can also modify this program so that you can search by both brand and title. So now I am going to start this program and show you how it works. Okay, so if I, for example, enter Sony, as you can see here, we will only get products from Sony brand. Okay, let's close this application. And one thing that I want to do is here inside form load event, instead of directly assigning data source of products grid like this, I just want to invoke the method refresh grid like this. And what this method will do is if the search text is empty, then it is going to return all of the products. So if I start the application once more, at the start, we get all of the products. The next thing that I would like to teach you is how we can show the prices of these products on a chart that I will put here. So in order to work with charts, we need to install another NuGet package. So let's close this application. And here I will again right click on my project, click on Manage NuGet Packages. Okay, and I need to find a nugget which is called Windows Forms Data Visualization. So win forms.data visualization, please find it. Okay, it's this one. Install it. Okay, and it has been installed. So now what you can do is you can go to your products form, and inside toolbox you can search for chart. Okay, drag and drop it to your form like this. And now what we should do is we should implement a couple of methods that are going to show the prices of product on this chart. So I will go to my code behind of products form, and here I will implement the methods, and I will be back to explain all the code. So in the code behind of my products form, I have created two methods to work with the chart and a couple of helper methods. So now I'm going to explain everything. The first method is called refresh chart, and it receives a selected product, which means that this method will be invoked whenever a user selects a specific product on the grid. So let's see what this method does. First of all, it clears prices chart, and it clears something called series. Now, what is series? Series is used in order to group points together because one chart can have multiple series. For example, this. So we use series in order to group those points together. So after you clear it, here we are going to add prices for every date that we have. So we are adding December 2021, and here I'm adding its value. And please keep in mind that this is a string, so I needed to convert it to decimal. And this is the method that I created. It's not built in, and I will explain it in a minute. So basically here we are adding points for every single price that we have for our products. That is what this code here does. And then after we add all of the points for all the prices, I am going to iterate through all of the points of this series. And for each point, I will add a label that will simply show the value on the y-axis. So it will simply show the price of that product. So that is what this refresh chart method does. Now, let me very quickly show you this convert to decimal. I will press F12. So here I created an additional class inside my data folder. It is static class called calculations. And inside this class, we are going to put some helper methods that will perform different calculations, conversions, and things that we need for this application. Inside it, I created one static function called convert to decimal, and the job of that function is to take a string and convert that string to decimal number. So here I'm saying, please try to parse this prices string into a variable called price that will be of type decimal and return it here. And if you cannot do this, then simply return null. So that is how this function looks like. And as you can see, this is how I have used it. So that is the first function, refresh chart. Okay, the second function is called configure chart, and it looks very simple. We first clean any existing data that our prices chart has, and then we create a new blank chart area. And here we are going to define new series called price. And inside it, we are going to define what is going to be the type of our chart. This is one type that I will use for this application, and later I will show you some other types that you can use as well. So that is the other method. Basically, this configure chart is going to be invoked only once when we start our application. So that is why I invoked this method here on my form load event. That is when this configure chart method is invoked, and then refresh chart method is going to be invoked whenever a user selects a specific product on the grid. So for that purpose, I created an event on my grid. So this grid here has an event that is called cell double click, and I implemented that event here, and here is how it looks like. So whenever the user double clicks on a specific product inside our grid, this event here will be invoked, and inside this E property, we will have the index of the selected row, and we will use that index in order to get selected product. So here I'm saying, hey, for this products grid, please find from all of its rows the one that has this index and then take the item from that row. The property is called data-bound item and it represents the item that is stored in that row. And since we know that it is of type product, we will cast it to product and store it to this variable. And then simply we are going to pass that selected product to our refresh chart method. So that is when this method here is going to be invoked. So now if I start the program and I select any product, as you can see here, we have the chart that shows us how the prices behaved since December 2021 till October 2022. So that is how you can create a chart. And as I promised, inside this method here, configure chart, you have a lot of different charts that you can use. Here are some, and the ones that I would recommend to use for this type of application are these here. So now that you have learned how to work with charts, I would like to show you something else. I would like to be able to calculate the change of price of each product in percentages and to see if the price has increased or decreased and how much. So in order to do that, we need to write another method, which I'll write very quickly, and then I'll be back to explain how it works. So I have implemented this functionality, and let me first show you the behavior of the application, and then I will show you the code behind it. So let's start the application, and let's search for a product that we are interested in. Let's say I want to search from Apple brand, and let's click, for example, on this Apple gift card. Okay, the price of gift card stayed the same, as you can see here. So if I press on calculate change, it says price did not change. But if I select on some other product, let's say this Apple Lightning 3mm adapter, as you can see, the price has fluctuated. So if I press on calculate change, you can see that the price has increased for 11%. Okay, so you can do this for one product, or you can select multiple products like this. So just hold Control and select the products that you want, and then click calculate change, and you will see the calculation for the products that you have selected. And here it says price dropped for minus 12.5%. So basically you can select all of the products that you buy, and then you can see how the prices of those products have changed, and you can see if they dropped or if they increased. And you can also, let's delete everything. You can also select all of the products that we have in this data set and then click on calculate change. And here we are performing calculation for all of the products. And as you can see, it says that price has dropped for minus 1.5% from December of 2021 to October of 2022. And please keep in mind that here I'm loading just 100,000 products into my application. If you want to calculate the change for all of the products, you should load them all in your application. So this is a functionality that I want to build. And here is the code. So here I wrote a function called calculate change in price, and that function receives a list of products that it should use to calculate the change. And this list can contain just one product or multiple products, depending on what you selected on the grid. And here is how the calculation is performed. So basically this code here does the same as this code here. It basically goes through the list of all of the selected products, and then it gets the first price of the current product and the last price. It checks if they have a value. This is important so that our application doesn't crash in case that some product doesn't have a value. And then here it sums all the first prices and all the last prices. So after this for each loop, we will have total first price of the selected products and total last price of the selected products. And here we are using those two values in order to calculate the change in percentages. And I will show you how this method here works in a moment. And then after you get the change in percentages, here we just check if the change is greater than 0. We print the message that price has increased for this many percentages. And then if it is less than 0, then the price dropped or decreased for this many percentages. And if it is exactly 0, then the price did not change. And also I am converting this price in percentages to string with 1 decimal. So that is how this method works in general. And here we have a couple of helper methods that I want to explain. So let's first see this get first non-null price. If I click on F11, you can see that we have another helper method inside this calculations.cs. All of these methods, by the way, are created inside calculations class. So here is the method get first non-null price. And what it does is it basically checks if we have this price for December of 2021. And if we have it, then it returns that price converted to decimal number. But if we don't have this price, then it tries to return this price. Again, if we don't have it, it will return this price and then it will try to return this and this. So the first one of these prices that we have will be returned. And then we also have a method called get last non-null price. And it does the same thing, but in reversed order. It first tries to return the last price and then the one before that and the one before that and so on. So those are 2 helper methods that are created and that are used here. Okay, and then one more method that I created is called calculate change in percentages. Again, all of these methods are inside calculations.cs, and this method takes the first price and the last price, and here is what it does. It performs a check if first price has value and if last price has value, and also if first price is not equal to 0, because here we are dividing by it, and as you already know, we should not divide by 0, as this comment here says. And this is how we perform the calculation in order to get the change in percentages. So let me explain how this expression here works. So let's say you have a shirt that you bought for $100. That would be first price. After that, you sold that shirt for $120, and that would be last price. So if you perform this calculation, this is the result that you would get. So you would have $20 of profit, which is 20% increase. And that is how this calculation here returns you the change in percentages. So after this part of the code is executed, then we take that percentage change and we return adequate message. So now your question might be, where is this calculate change in price function invoked? Well, let's go to our form, and as you can see here, I have added a button, and the name of the button is calculate change button, as you can see here. So calculate change button. So if you click on the button, this is the event that is going to be executed. So here we first take all of the selected rows from our grid and we make sure to check if any row was selected, because if the user just pressed the button without selecting any rows, then we just want to return from this function and not do anything. But if user has selected at least one row, we will proceed with this code here. So we will create a list of products. It will be empty at first, and then we will go through selected rows, and from each row, we will take the product and we will add it to this list. And after that, we will invoke function calculate change in price, which is the one that we previously saw, and we will pass it the list of our selected products and store the message that the function returns inside this variable here. And then we will simply show that message using message box show method. So once more, if I run the program and I select, for example, 4 products and I click on calculate change, we will get the message. And here it says that the price for these 4 products has increased for 2.3%. When you have data set that is as big as ours, you can do many things. For example, now I'm going to show you how you can build a functionality that will tell you which brands have increased prices the most and which have decreased prices the most. Here I'm going to show only 10 brands because we have limited space to show the information, but I will teach you how you can do that calculation for all the brands that we have in this data set. And we are currently loading 100,000 records, and in those 100,000 there are over 50,000 brands. So in the entire data set there would be much more. And many businesses use this type of information in order to decide when to buy certain products or to sell them, when to buy stocks or sell them, and so on. I will not give any financial advice, but I will teach you how to build this application so that you can make your own decisions however you want. So let me write the code and then I will show you the functionality and I will teach you how to implement it. So here I have implemented the functionality that is going to tell us which brands have increased prices the most and which have decreased prices the most. So if I click on this button here, we will get top 10 brands that have increased prices the most between December 2021 and October of 2022. Let's check Bonneville Manufacturing. It says that it has increased price for 2,286%. Okay, so let's type here Bonneville Manufacturing. Okay, so if I click here, as you can see, the price has jumped from 0.5 to 10.99, and then their other product went to 12.8 and then 12. So if I select all of these three products and I press calculate change, as you can see, we will get the same number for price increase. So that is how this biggest price increase works. And here we have just 10 brands because we have limited space to show the data, but I will teach you how you can calculate this for all the brands that we have in our data set. Let's close this one. And then if I press biggest price decreases, here we will get top 10 brands that have decreased the prices the most between December 2021 and October 2022. So let's check for Rainbow Dust, for example. I will type Rainbow Dust, okay, and let's see what happened. The price went down from $7.95 to 0 between May and July of 2022. I'm guessing that this brand went bankrupt or something like that. So now let me show you how these two functionalities are implemented. And I believe that the best way for you to understand this is if I show you through debugging. So here inside Products Form Code Behind, I have implemented two events: biggest increase button click and biggest decrease button click. So let's open the first one, biggest increase button click, and I will put breakpoint on the first line. And now we will start the application again and we will see what is happening step by step. So if I start the application and I click on biggest price increases, we will come into this event. And here we are creating a dictionary of string and decimal. That dictionary is called brands with highest price increase. And here we are invoking a method on our calculations class called calculate brands price change. And we are passing it the list of products. We currently have 100,000 products that are loaded into our application. And we are passing it an enumeration called sort type. And we are saying that sort type should be increase because we are calculating brands that have increased the most. And this same function will be used to calculate brands that have decreased the most. And then we will pass sort type decrease. Okay, so after we invoke this function, let's see what is going to be the return result. So if I hover over this variable, as you can see, we have the list of 10 brands, the name of the brand, and then how much it has increased in price in percentages. And this is our list of 10 brands that have increased in price the most. So after that, we are creating a new variable called message, and then we will iterate through these brands that we have received. And for each brand, I will say brand key, which is the name of the brand, increased price for brand.value, and value is going to be increase in percentages. And we are doing that for all 10 brands that we have received. So after that is finished, we are simply going to show that message together with this title, top brands with highest price increase between December and October. Okay, so that is how this function works. Now let's go in detail a little bit. I will put breakpoint here again because now I want to explain how this method here works. Calculate brand's price change. So if I press this button again, the application will be paused again. So now I will press F11 in order to enter into this function. Now, this function here receives list of products and it receives enumeration called sort type. Here is the enumeration called sort type. We have created it and it has increase and decrease. Here we are receiving increase type because we want brands that have increased the most. Okay, so now when I enter to this function here, we create an empty dictionary of brands, and that is going to be dictionary of string and list of decimals. Now, what does this mean? It means that we will have the name of the brand and then list of all the product price changes for that brand. So how are we calculating that? Well, we are iterating through the list of products, 100,000 of them. We take first price for each product and last price, and then we calculate the change in price for that product. This is the function that I already showed you. And here, after we get that change in price for a specific product, we check if that brand already exists inside this dictionary. And if it doesn't, then we are going to add that brand to this list here. And then we will simply add price change in percentages to that brand. Now, to make this a little bit easier to understand, let's move to this line here and then see what is going to be the result after this for each loop is executed. So after it is executed, here we are going to have all of the brands, so 55,890 of them. And for each brand, we will have its name, and then we will have the list of how much prices of its products have either increased or decreased. For example, this brand here called Dial has 3 products. The price of first has decreased by 6.21%. The price of second has increased by 34.1%. And then the price of third product is unchanged. And we have that kind of information for all of the brands that we have inside our application. So after we have done that for every single brand, here we are calculating average price change by brand. So what is this part of the code here doing? Well, this is a link you expression that is going to select all of the brands, and it will create for each brand a new key value pair of string and decimal. So name of the brand and average price change for that brand. And as the name, it will store brand.key, which is the name of the brand. And for the value, it will store this. What is this? Well, that is average value of all of the price changes for each product of that brand. And it will round that to 1 decimal. So if I execute this line of code, let's see what we will have here. Okay, and as you can see, now we have Dial, average is 9.3%, Dream Baby 16.6%, NGK minus 1.5, and so on. And here we have the list of all of the brands, over 55,000 of them, and we have their average price change in the interval that we have prices for. So now I am simply going to check which sort type I have to apply. Here I have to apply increase. And here I will simply order the brands in descending order. So starting with the ones that have increased the price the most. And then if we invoke the other functionality that calculates brands that have decreased the price, then we are going to simply order these brands in ascending order. So this part of the code will be executed. So after we sort them, we will simply take 10 brands from that list, and we will return that as the result of this function. Now here you can take as many as you want. We have 55,890. And if you want, you can show all of them or export them to a file and then analyze that. So now when I press F5, we are going to get this result. And one more thing that I want to show you is what is happening when this biggest price decrease is invoked? Well, let's close the application very quickly, and I'll go to code behind of my products form. And here, as I already showed you, we have the implementation of biggest increase button click. And then here is the implementation of biggest decrease button click. And as you can see, these two methods are almost identical, with the simple difference that here we are passing sort type increase, and then here we are passing sort type decrease, and here we are also just changing the title so that it says top brands with highest price decrease. So that is how you can write an application that is going to analyze the market, in this case, analyze Amazon dataset, and that will give you useful information that you can later use in order to make informed decisions. And if you want to get this dataset from Bright Data, then they can provide you with most recent data that you can use in order to understand the current events that are happening on the market and make decisions based on that. So that would be all for this video. All of the code from the video will be on my GitHub, and you can find the link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want another video like this one, definitely let me know in the comments. Let me know what you would like to see. And for all the people who watch my videos until the end, I have a special gift for you. If you enjoy my teaching style, you will be delighted to know that my practical programming course will soon be out. And as my viewer, you can get a special discount for the course. Just make sure to sign up using the link in the description, but do it right now because the number of people that can get this discount is limited. And in my practical programming course, I will teach you everything that you need to know to start working for a company or to start working on your own projects and bringing your own ideas to life and making real-world useful applications. So if you're interested, definitely make sure to sign up. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in some other video. Bye!